Hey, how are you doing? Okay, this is going to be a video. Hopefully, it won't be too long. That's detailing how J Tolan Media supports um, my videos, as he is detailing up to a point visual occultation and optical drop. I will show now in a minute. It's from this video from him, infrared hyperlapse tilting the earth. Okay. Um, so first thing I'm going to do is, because there's a bit of confusion with my last video where people on the opposition side, this seems to be an ongoing thing where people in our opposition side, on the globe earth side, they just can't seem to understand visual occultation and optical drop. The flat earthers have no problem with it. They get it immediately. They never have a problem understanding it. But the globe earthers, they don't seem to understand it. They find it very, very difficult to take in. I don't know why that is. They can't seem to differentiate between visual occultation and optical drop or understand what any of them are. Um, they end up just trying to say that I'm making it up, or it's all false, or I'm wrong, or there's a lot of things because I've been talking about optical drop and visual occultation for years now. At this stage, um, and I can never see, even though I'm showing real world observations, that the globe earthers still don't understand it. So this is someone else, who J Tolan Media One, where I'm showing his video now, where he is showing the same things. He's detailing it slightly different, but he's showing the same things exactly. He's showing the effects of visual occultation and optical drop. So I'm going to start with, first of all, a brief explanation and demonstration of visual occultation. Okay, bring this up here. Okay, turn off the sound. Okay, so visual occultation. I'm just going to control it, right? So the smaller object in the foreground is higher than it either can be as high or higher than your horizontal vision, right? Let's say your midway vision point. So consequently, even though it's smaller than the background object, the foreground object will occult it. So as I move this, as you can see, it's occulting it as it goes back. Because what happens is my view, angle of view, ends up being here. So if I'm trying to see the top of this higher, bigger object in the background, I can't, because my angle of view ends up with me looking up here, up to this lamp at the background. Which is like, this lamp is like 3 foot high or something like that. And it's only on a table here that's about an inch lower than this. But even at that, this smaller object here is occulting 3/4 of it. So this is visual occultation. I can't see the top of the tea jar because it has been occulted. I move this over and you can see it has been occulted. So I'll keep it going and I'll move the jar back in. So this is visual occultation. Okay, visual occultation is about where my line of sight has to go due to a foreground object that's as high or higher than a background object. Sorry, as high or higher than my eye line. So if it's as high as my eye line, it will cause me, if it's around even slightly under my eye line, it will cause me to look up. But if it's anywhere around my eye line or higher, anywhere close to my eye line or higher, or anyone's eye line, it will cause them to look up the way. It's going to show again. So to see the top of that jar over the top of the pepper thing here, the foreground object, you can't. So moving in, you can't even see the top of the jar now. As it moves back, there you go, it starts to just disappear. So that's visual occultation. It causes your line of sight to a bigger background object to take an angle that's that basically means that you're going to end up looking over the top of the bigger background object. Just move it on, and you can see as I move it back in, I keep looking up. If you keep looking up here, right, you'll notice that the bigger background object comes back in and eventually takes up that space. But when it's back there, it can't, because you can't see up and over. You see in a straight line. You can't see in a curve. So you're not looking up and over and down. You can't do that. You can see in a straight line up to here. So as it comes back in, it fills the space. As it moves away, it drops back down. Okay, so that's visual occultation, right? Now there is optical drop going on in there too, but we're not focusing on that with this demonstration. We're focusing on visual occultation. That is visual occultation, a change in the direction of your view due to an obstruction in your foreground, obstructing the view to a larger object in the background. Okay, now this is optical drop. Okay, so you might see a bit of a difference between the top of the video and the phone here and here, but that's because my camera that I was filming with was actually off kilter a little bit, as opposed, but this is not. This is on my video parallel, not level, whoever wants to watch it. Okay, you can see the whole lot there and explained there. And there's other videos on my channel that explain this. Okay, so this is this is optical drop. So I'm showing here, there is a small left to right tilt, but forward and back there is no tilt. I'm making an optical parallel with the surface. So in this one, I show how it doesn't matter whether this is showing it the phone being absolutely level and the table being level from this video, but it's the parallel that causes the optical drop, not, it doesn't, like, as far as a demonstration goes, you don't have to have level for demonstration. You just have to make a parallel, because you can do it on an incline or a decline. But in reality, we always are making, when you're looking straight ahead, you're always making a direct parallel with mean sea level. All elevations are taken off of mean sea level. Mean sea level, anyone can look at an elevation profile on Google Earth, is flat, 100% flat. So you're always making an optical parallel with mean sea level, always. So this effect here, the fact that we see this in real life, proves without a shadow of a doubt that that mean sea level is flat. So I'm going to move on. So here, I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to show here where not that it really matters a whole lot. Okay. So as you can see, it's 0, 0 up here. This here is slightly higher. If I bring it in, it's actually higher. I have to keep it out a bit because this here is actually ends up here. It's higher. So just going to move this away, and you see the way it drops below the center, right? Drops below the center. Back in. Drops below the center. Back in. Now that IQ IQ here, this is higher. This actually, if I bring it in close to the camera, is up here. It's way above the center, but it drops below. Back in, back out, back in. This is optical drop, not visual occultation. This is specifically showing optical drop. The last one was specifically showing visual occultation. Okay, now we'll move on to here, where I'm showing that the phone and the piece here are absolutely flush. They are making a perpendicular right angle, both of them, to the surface. This is this object here. Anyone can check out the dimensions of this. Has a totally flat bottom, and its base is totally flat. There's a flat base on this iPhone 5. As the both of them are making a right angle perpendicular to the flat surface. Okay, there you go. There it is, completely up against flush with the phone. And now I show one more demonstration of this, and then we'll get on to the J Tolan's video. Okay, turn down the sound. So this is it, where I'm using a laser. Okay, I have a laser on this phone charger, and as I bring it in, right, if the table was longer, I would have been able to bring it back and the laser would go down below the midline here. But I have that happening in other videos. So I show that in other videos, so it's not important right now. But the table is only a couple of feet long, 2.5 feet or something long. So I bring this in, and as I bring it in, you can see the laser rises up. This is a sunset, sunrise, Polaris drop. That's what causes all this. All that is caused by optical drop, or the effect of optical drop is caused by the perspective view of that. So there we go. Laser rises, laser falls. Laser rises along with the markings on the phone charger. Rises, falls, rises, falls, rises, falls, rises, falls. So the globe side, you should have no problem after these two demonstrations and my explanation. There should be no problem in understanding after this video, especially with J Tolan's input. There should be no problem in understanding these two things. They're very, very, very simple things to understand if you just stop attacking them and just sit there and look and think and watch and take it in. You will understand it. You don't need to attack it. You just need to understand that it's real. I know that it affects what you believe, because things that have been called Earth curve over the years are actually just visual occultation and optical drop. And I understand that's a problem and it annoys you, but you will never get to understand these things if you keep on attacking them and just making a point of not understanding them. Because surely it cannot be the case where only flat earthers can understand them and globe earthers cannot. Because at present, there's not one globe earther that can understand this. Not one. Not one has been able to understand it. Even when they tried to replicate it, they did it wrong. They wouldn't even do what I said. They focused on the object and not the surface. They weren't making a parallel with the surface. When it comes to visual occultation, they don't do their scaling right. It's all over the place. It's like they're trying their best not to understand it. Well, you should have no excuses now after this video. With these two demonstrations with explanations and what I'm going to show from J Tolan Media. The earth is flat. It is what it is. You just have to accept it. It's time to accept it and for us to move on, because it's 6 years into it now. We don't need to go any further. It's flat. That's that. Now, I'm going to move on to J Tolan. Okay, so, right. Put this up here. Okay, so, so this photo here, right, obviously, is why this, it's like, it's after, I'm happy this photograph came out and all the stuff, all the controversy around it happened, because this is showing both visual occultation and optical drop simultaneously. And it's really good that it came out, because it gives me and others an opportunity to cement in the reality that is visual effects, like visual occultation and optical drop. So this is obviously the reason why I am making a couple of these videos again now. This is a perfect example of optical drop and visual occultation. In my previous video, I proved that with a mountain of the same height as this mountain here, Dow Craig, about the same size as this mountain, Dow Craig, I proved that there was no globe explanation for it. Yet I showed the same exact thing as what this photo shows. So this is the reason. This photograph obviously is the reason. And it's a fantastic photograph, but it's a fantastic flat earth photograph, because there is no way around it. The earth is flat. There has never been curvature measured. There never will be. No surveyor ever measured curvature, and they never will do, because it's not there. So this is a fantastic flat earth proof. I know that there's people who would suggest different, and it annoys them for them to hear the opposite from that, but it is what it is. You can't escape reality. Reality is real. reality trumps all things, all models and beliefs. Reality is reality. It's flat. So J Tolan supports Brown's logic. Okay, some details before I show you some clips from J Tolan's video. J Tolan's elevation was at 3,200 feet. When he drops elevation, J Tolan goes from 3,200 feet, he drops by 100 feet to 3,100 feet. So he drops by 100 feet from 3,200 to 3,100. J Tolan's distance to first mountain is 53 miles, and the elevation of first mountain is 4,500 feet. J Tolan's distance to second mountain is 68 miles, elevation of second mountain 4,900 feet. Distance between first and second mountain 15 miles. Globe Earth's hidden calculations for 68 miles at 3,200 feet is 0. Globe Earth's hidden calculations for 68 miles at 3,100 feet is 0. So there is no hidden according to Globe Earth geometry possible for this distance at the elevations that J Tolan is at. So anything that we see within his observations cannot be explained by Globe Earth geometry, and he's using an IR filter as well. So there is very little room for anything other than reality. So this is why I'm showing his video, because he shows visual occultation and optical drop of mountains at a big distance while he is at a high elevation. And there is no geometric horizon anywhere within his video, as there can't be, because there is no hidden possible. And the geometric horizon doesn't exist, but that's a separate issue. So now, I'm going to turn off the sound here, and we're going to watch this. So this is his first IR hyperlapse, okay? So I'm just going to move this up here. Now, as you can see, as he rises and falls in elevation, the mountains in the background rise and fall. Okay, as he rises, okay. So watch it again. The mountains in the background rise and fall. He's only going up and down by 100 foot, yet the mountains in the background are rising and falling. But they're not really falling. So this is nothing to do with Globe Earth. They're not going over the curve of the Earth. That's just his elevation changing. It's visual occultation causing this, because he would be able to see all the way to the base of the furthest of the second mountain he's using if he wasn't being occulted here by these hills and the mountains in the foreground. So the only thing that's occulting, the only thing that's stopping him from seeing the base of those mountains is the occultation in front of him. But it's causing the mountains to appear to fall down. And he did this on purpose to try and make it look like something was like the Earth was rotating or something like that. As you can see, they appear to fall down. They're higher. They are higher than what's in the foreground. So you can see it. They're going up, going down, going up, going down, going up, going down. Watch it one more time. Up and down. Visual occultation. This is what it causes. Does it remind you of anyone's photograph from Blackpool? Now we look at the second one. Sorry, it's going to put it in here. Turn down the sound, and we go. So this is second hyperlapse, number 2. As you can see, he's showing visual occultation. Okay, it's going to come down. I'm going to put on this one again, and we're going to listen to what J Tolan has to say. Okay. Make sure there's enough sound. Okay, just going to go back and get the sound going here. Bring up the sound a bit, because I have to bring the sound through the speakers to the recording. So it doesn't say a whole lot. So it doesn't really matter. I don't think he says a whole lot in either video. I'll find out. No. No, just dramatic music. But it's all the same. It's showing what I'm saying it's showing. Now, I'm going to show this. Here he shows with a grid, and he has the things layered. Okay. Turn down the sound. We don't need dramatic. Oh, actually, no, he does say some stuff here. So bring up the sound.
So as we toggle the scenery, the peaks on the left are fixed and the ones on the right drop down. You see that? Now let's zoom in. So as we toggle this.
So we just go back. You can see he has fixed points here in the background, right? These are the fixed points in the background. And as he toggles the scenery, as he says.
So as we toggle the scenery, the peaks on the left are fixed and the ones on the right drop down. You see that? Now let's zoom in. So as we...
So we'll have a look at the zoom. Turn the sound, sorry.
So now you can see it. Notice we need the grid to be able to see that the peaks are dropping down. Isn't that incredible?
So we'll watch it again.
So now you can see it. Notice we need the grid to be able to see that the peaks are dropping down. Isn't that incredible?
Okay, we'll watch it again without sound. So I'm going to go through it. So as we move, as you can notice up here, this line stays fixed on the top of this mountain, right? But as he drops in elevation, as you can see over here, this one appears to be dropping down when there's no need for it to be dropping down. It's just a case of it's not going over any earth curve. It's just a case of it's being occulted. As he goes down, it's being occulted. As you can see, the one over here stays put, but this one appears to drop down because it's further away, and there's more things to occult it here than there is there. So consequently, it drops. Visual occultation and optical drop working simultaneously. But the optical drop proof, as yet actually the best optical drop proof is yet to come. So as you can see, this is visual occultation. There's no way of this is reality. Okay, so now back to here. Okay, so we come down here. So this is where he was, right? Quartz Hill, I don't know if that's the name of here or the name where he was, but he has all the details here. Total distance 68.4 miles. So that's the total distance that he shot to. This is the bigger mountain, or the apparently bigger mountain in the foreground. Quartz Mountain, or Quartzite Mountain, sorry. Here, that is 53, he says, miles away. So, and this mountain here behind is actually bigger, but it's 68 miles away. So, we're just going to go into here. So this is his analysis of visual occultation. As he shows, when he's looking at B, right, with A in the foreground, his line of sight is raised, okay? Because he cannot look directly at B at his line of sight because A is in the way. So he can't look straight across here because A is in the way. So his line of sight is lifted, right, to B. So when he lifts up though, what happens is when he goes up, A drops and B rises. Okay, so A will appear to drop and B will appear to rise, as opposed to here where B appears to have dropped behind A. So position A blocks B and gives the impression that B has dropped down. But when he rises, position B appears to rise and the appearance that A has dropped down. So if we just go back to here, if you, let's just say, had a drone, right, and you lift it off from this position and you started rising in elevation, what would happen here? What would happen here is the mountains would appear to rise up and the top of the tower would appear to go down. And eventually the tower will go right down and mountains go right up. So what would happen here is that just like in J Tolan's diagrams, right, what we're seeing is B, which is the mountains in the background, being occulted by A, which is the tower, right? And obviously Blackpool here as well, that's occulting it. But the tower is obviously the highest point. So, so what we see is when we're trying to look at the top of the mountains, what we're seeing is this. So this is the line of sight, which gives the appearance that B is dropped down because A appears to be occulting it so much. Okay, because of the angle of view, right, that is caused by A. So to look at over the top of A, which is here, you will see nothing but sky, right? Because B, which is the mountains, appears to be dropped down, but they're not actually, because if you rose in a drone, then A would drop down and B would rise up. It's just a perspective thing. Visual occultation causes this, and when you take the occultation away, the more true heights of the two of A and B are shown. So this is due to the tower being well over 500 feet above the photographer. So the photographer, if he could rise up with a drone or in a helicopter, what would happen is that would appear to go down and the mountains would appear to rise up. This is what happens. It's just effects of perspective. So then we must come to here, right? So this would be if A and B are close. What would happen is there's hardly no change, right? Because they're so close, A can't occult B. It can only occult B if it's close, if it's kind of close or if it's at a distance from B, it can only occult it. Or if it's more in the way of the observer's view. Because where A is there, it's not occulting the observer's view to B. So A can't occult B because it's too close to B. It has to be closer to the observer. It has changed in angular size too much at a distance. Optical drop has taken effect on both of them. So, right, so as well. So what happens is that whether the observer rises or falls, or rises or lowers, A and B will appear basically the same. There won't be much of a difference. Okay, and if we look at the photograph here, we have a load of occultation in the way here of the background mountains over here, but you won't notice much of a difference there if you rose with a drone. You won't notice it stretching back because it all looks like it's just a wall because the land here is so close to the land at the back. But that's actually going back the way at a gradient. So there's actually a gradient of angular size change happening from the surface here back the way towards the top of the mountains. But it's not apparent. Technically, this is all also obstructing our view and causing visual occultation. But because it's so far back and close to the mountains, or close enough to the mountains, so that if we rose in a drone, we would see a change here, but not to the same degree as we'd see it between the tower and let's say Dale Craig behind, and these mountains behind. Okay, you would see the change, but not anywhere near as much as this, or as much as you would here with the roller coaster. So there's no real change there. The only change only happens if A is halfway between or closer to the observer, causing the observer's view to rise. Right? And as the observer rises, A goes down, B goes up. Okay, so now just to show, so distance in miles 68, viewer height in feet 3,200. Geometric hidden, none. Horizon is beyond the target distance. So there's no geometric hidden. So distance in miles 68, viewer height in feet 3,100 because he dropped by 100 feet in his elevation. Geometric hidden, none. Horizon is beyond the target distance. So there's no hidden whatsoever. There's no globe out calculations that can explain what J Tolan media is showing. So now for this, okay. So this is showing here. He shows here in geometric analysis does not explain observed image compression. He's going to compression, and it is a certain amount of it is compression up to the point because he's showing it within the he's looking at it obviously through air and all the rest of it. But this is actually mostly optical drop. If we take a second now, let's get a line here. We take a line. There's a line, right? And that's actually turning up. That's perfect because it actually turns up right in the center of the screen. So this is basically the center of J Tolan's. This is J Tolan's view, the center of his view. It's going to go a bit out the way, but it's all right. So if we can bring that line across there, that is kind of where J Tolan's eye line is, right? This mountain here, this is 3,000 feet here, where he's shown here. This is 3,000 feet above sea level. He's at 3,000, right at his lowest with his observation was 3,100. This mountain here is 4,500 feet. So he is going to be 1,400 feet below that, right? 1,400 feet below that. Yet his eye line is looking above it, and this is 4,900 feet. So this is 1,800 feet above his eye line. Yet he's looking. It appears due to optical drop. It appears that he's looking over the top of both of them, but in reality, his eye line is actually down here. This is where his eye. I'm taking that up a bit so you can see it better. Now, hopefully, I'll bring that a bit more so you can. Now you can see it. So his eye line is actually down here, right? This will be where his eye line is, 3,100 or 3,200 feet. But it appears to be up here, right? It appears to be up there because of optical drop. There's nothing to do with globe out. This is purely optical drop. So this is absolutely 100%, just like 100% supporting exactly what I've been showing, what my last video showed, that optical drop and visual occultation are very, very real. This mountain here is 53 miles away. This mountain here is 68 miles away. There is a massive amount of optical drop between the two of them, yet there's not only about 15 miles between them. And there's a massive amount of optical drop happening between the two of them. And that one is actually, because that one is actually 400 feet higher than this one. But there is a certain amount of visual occultation starting here as well, which causes the angle to his like slight visual angle change to here. Even though it's low, it's still occulting some of the mountain. But this wouldn't be a big deal because his eye line would be actually still being occulted by this, because if we bring this down to about 3,100 feet, to be about there. So he actually is still, his view to the top of this mountain here, that's 1,800 feet above him, is still being occulted, because this is about 3,100 feet. So this is 3,000 feet, this is 3,100 feet. So he's still being occulted to this background mountain. So that's a big part of the reason why it appears to be dropped. But it still would be lower than expected in comparison to this one due to optical drop. And they'd still both be below his eye line because of optical drop. This is just something, it's just, he's making a parallel. His eye line here is making a parallel with mean sea level. Mean sea level is always flat. All elevations are taken off of mean sea level, which is 0, which is flat. There is no elevations taken from the center of any globe model. That doesn't happen. Level does not mean equal with the center of the globe earth. The globe earth is an oblate spheroid. You can't have an equal with the center. That's why all elevations are taken off of mean sea level. Why don't you get that on the opposition side? I don't get it. I don't know. But I don't know. You don't do much thinking, I think, the people on the opposite side. So here you go. Absolute proof. No way out of it. There's no globe earth explanation for any of this. Visual occultation and optical drop prove everything we see here. And these are big mountains at a high elevation, taken from a high elevation at a distance. The whole lot is shown, and it's in infrared as well. So you can't even claim it's a load of atmospheric effects, because we're showing in infrared, so it's looking through a huge amount of the atmosphere. So you can't even claim all that nonsense. It's visual occultation and optical drop. So just want to come down to the last one now. So, with just 100 foot of an elevation drop, J Tolan's video to the higher mountains in the background was being obviously obscured due to the lower hills in the foreground, causing the effect of visual occultation. And with just an extra distance of just 15 miles between the mountain in the foreground at 53 miles distance and the mountain in the background at 68 miles distance, and both of them being over 50 miles from J Tolan, the effect of optical drop was very prevalent, as the foreground mountain appeared higher than the background mountain, even though this is actually not the case. And to top this off, J Tolan's mid line of sight was above both mountains, even while obviously holding a directly horizontal view. J Tolan's video proves once again that visual occultation and optical drop are very real visual effects that must be taken into account whenever someone is analysing a photograph or observation, with the absolute most important part of J Tolan's video being that his elevation cancels all globe earth geometry hidden values. So there is absolutely no way for globe earth proponents to explain J Tolan Media One's observations of that day. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe please like J Tolan's video and subscribe to his channel. I will put his link in the description, and I will pin it in the comment section. Thanks for watching. I hope this eventually has cleared up with the opposition side what visual occultation and optical drop is. Hopefully some of them will start being able to understand it. They appear to have a very, very difficult time understanding what these effects are. I don't know why. Flat earthers get it. The flat earth side get it immediately. Never has to be explained to them. They just understand it. But the globe earth side, you really need to sit down and watch and look and take it in, the explanations I'm giving and what J Tolan and what I show. Okay, thank you for watching. Take care.